Since the dawn of time, humans have turned their gaze to the heavens. The stars, the moon, the eternal dance of the planets across the night sky. Hello everyone, I am Simone and welcome back to my channel. This is the third video about the history of astrology, and in this episode we will explore the Hellenistic astrology and its path towards the Roman world. In the previous episodes, we have seen how in Mesopotamia astrology was born as a tool of kings and priests, and in Egypt it merged with the divine cycles of the Nile and the gods of the afterlife. Now, in the Mediterranean world, a new chapter begins, with the Greeks and later the Romans forged what we now call Hellenistic astrology. In 332 BCE, Alexander the Great marched into Egypt, founding the city of Alexandria. 1 year later, in 331, Babylon fell, and with it, the ancient traditions of Mesopotamian star watching passed into Greek hands. This was more than a conquest, it was the fusion of worlds. The Greeks, heirs to thinkers like Thales, Plato, and Aristotle, already contemplated the order of the heavens, but they had never crafted a systematic astrology of their own. In Babylon, they encountered the Chaldeans, famed across the Mediterranean for their mastery of planetary omens. In Egypt, they met priests who had tracked the stars for millennia, dividing time with the decans, 36 star groups rising every 10 days. And in the crucible of Alexandria, these traditions mingled with Greek philosophy, mathematics, and geometry, giving birth to something new, Hellenistic astrology. The great innovation of this period was the horoscope, from the Greek word horoskopos, or our watcher. No longer were the stars read only for collective omens, as in Mesopotamia. No longer were they tied solely to sacred cycles, as in Egypt. Instead, astrology turned to the fate of the individual. This system introduced enduring concepts: the ascendant or rising sign, the 12 houses, each governing a sphere of life, planetary aspects, trines, squares, oppositions, the angles through which the heavens communicated their will. The Zodiac, inherited from Mesopotamia, became in Greek hands not merely a band of constellations, but a cosmic map of the soul. One of the earliest transmitters was Berossos, a Chaldean priest who, around 280 BCE, established a school of astrology on the island of Kos, teaching Greeks the arts of his homeland. Astrology in the Hellenistic world was inseparable from religion. The planets were not just lights in the sky, they were gods themselves. Helios the sun, Selene the moon, Hermes Mercury, Aphrodite Venus, Ares Mars, Zeus Jupiter, and Kronos Saturn. The zodiac signs too gained mythological identities. Aries with the ram of the golden fleece, Sagittarius with the centaur Chiron, Aquarius with the water-bearer Ganymede. Underlying this pantheon was the concept of Hymarmin, the cosmic fate, an unbreakable chain of cause and effect. To practice astrology was to glimpse the divine order of the universe. Greek philosophy gave astrology its intellectual backbone. The Stoics thought that the cosmos was one living organism, bound by pneuma, the divine breath linking heaven and earth. Astrology for them was the study of this cosmic web. The four elements, earth, water, air, and fire, became mapped onto the zodiac, giving signs their qualities and temperaments. Medicine tied astrology to the four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. The Epicureans, by contrast, dismissed astrology. To them, the stars were nothing more than atoms swerving in the void, indifferent to human life. This debate between fate and free will would echo through centuries of astrological thought. By the 2nd century BCE, astrology crossed another frontier. In 146 BCE, after the sack of Corinth, Greece fell under Roman domination. With Greek territory came Greek philosophy, literature, and the arts, and alongside them, astrology. Roman elites, schooled in the Stoic and Platonic thought, found in astrology a natural extension of the cosmic philosophies they admired. Later, in 30 BCE, the defeat of Cleopatra and Mark Antony brought Egypt into the Roman orbit. With Alexandria, the dazzling hub of Hellenistic learning, firmly in Roman hands, the works of Ptolemaic scholars and Egyptian priests entered Latin libraries and intellectual circles. The Roman world now possessed the full inheritance of Mesopotamian omens, Egyptian star lore, and Greek horoscopy. Not all Romans welcome astrology. Cicero, who lived between 106 and 43 BCE, in his De Divinazione, questioned how the dynasties of individuals could be fixed by distant stars, reflecting a deep skepticism among some intellectuals. But even his critiques reveal astrology's growing importance. By Cicero's time, it was already a powerful presence in Roman life. Among the rulers, astrology became both personal guide and political weapon. Augustus, the first Roman emperor, reigning between 27 BCE and 14 CE, claimed the stars marked his destiny. His astrologer, Theognis, is said to have confirmed the emperor's greatness at birth. Augustus proudly associated himself with Capricorn, minting coins with its image, suggesting his rule was cosmically ordained. Tiberius, who reigned after Augustus from 14 to 37 CE, was a serious student of astrology. His trusted advisor, Thrasyllus of Mendes, became indispensable at court. But astrology was not confined to palaces. By the early empire, astrologers, known as Chaldei or Mathematici, crowded Rome's streets and marketplaces, offering horoscopes to merchants, soldiers, and farmers. Satirists like Petronius mocked their presence, yet their popularity only grew. Astrology also shaped Roman religion and art. Planetary gods were invoked in temples. Villas displayed zodiac mosaics, and talismans inscribed with horoscopes circulated among soldiers. Agriculture followed lunar cycles, while physicians like Galen consulted planetary influences in diagnosis. Astrology became woven into the rhythms of everyday Roman life. As previously mentioned, central to the astrological concept was that of Heimarmen, cosmic fate, and the unbreakable chain of cause and effect. The conflicts between the concepts of fate and free thought, stemming from the Greek philosophical schools of the Stoics and Epicureans, continued in the Roman world. Between these poles, ordinary Romans wrestled with the tension between fate and free will. Some thought astrology to surrender to destiny, others to anticipate and perhaps outmaneuver it. Astrology's political power made it dangerous. Predictions of imperial death could spark rebellion. The Senate expelled astrologers as early as 139 BCE, and later emperors banned inquiries into their own horoscopes. Yet each ban was temporary. The lure of the stars was too strong, and astrologers always returned. Roman society produced and preserved some of the most influential astrological texts. Among these we can list the authors like Manlius, lived in the 1st century CE, was Astronomica, cast astrology in Latin verse. Dorotheus of Sidon, lived in the 1st century CE, was Carmen Astrologicum, shaped Roman and Arabic traditions. Vettius Valens, lived in the 2nd century CE, with his anthology and manual filled with practical horoscopes. Ptolemy, lived in the 2nd century CE in Alexandria, was Tetrabiblos, already discussed in the video about Egyptian astrology, grounded astrology in natural philosophy and introduced the concept of tropical zodiac, still dominant today. And last, Firmicus Maternus, lived in the 4th century CE, as senator was Mattheseus, was among the last great pagan works on astrology, before he renounced it after converting to Christianity. From the conquest of Greece to the annexation of Egypt, astrology seeped into the fabric of Roman society. It was studied in philosophy, practiced in markets, invoked by emperors, feared by politicians, and lived by ordinary people. For the Romans, the stars were not distant lights, they were threads of fate itself, binding heaven and earth into a single cosmic order. With the rise of Christianity, astrology faced opposition. Church fathers like Tertullian and Augustine of Hippo condemned it as fatalistic and declared it incompatible with divine providence. By the 5th century CE, astrology was marginalized in the Western Empire. With the sack of Rome in 410 CE and the closure of the Platonic Academy in Athens in 529 CE symbolized the decline of the old pagan sciences. Yet, astrology didn't vanish. In Byzantium, Persia, and later in the Islamic Golden Age, Greek works were preserved, translated, and studied. From Baghdad to Cordoba, they would eventually return to medieval Europe, carrying the legacy of Alexandria forward. Hellenistic astrology was the great synthesis, a weaving of Babylonian omens, Egyptian star law, and Greek rationalism. It gave us the horoscope, the houses, the aspects, the tropical zodiac, and the philosophical framework that still underpins astrology today. Though empires fell and religion shifted, the idea endured. That in mapping the heavens, we might also glimpse the map of the human soul. If you enjoyed this journey through the stars, do not forget to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel for more explorations of the astrology's past. Join me in the next episode, where we'll travel eastward to uncover the history of astrology in ancient and pre-Islamic Persia.